everyone, welcome back to GT Lab. When most people think about the analog heat plus effects, they think distortion, saturation, and maybe a bit of color on the drum bus or the mix bus. But this video isn't a review, it's more of a did you know this thing can do all of this? Because once you stop thinking about the heat as a static processor and start treating it like a fully modulatable effects instrument, it becomes something very different. The Heat Plus FX is an analog processing and effects hub. You've got multiple drive circuits, filters, stereo effects, envelopes and LFOs. And most importantly, deep modulation routing. I'm not going to deep dive into every section, but just know this. Almost everything can move, evolve and be sequenced. For these examples, I'm using a Vermona Performer Mark II. It's a beautiful analog synth with no onboard effects. But this can apply to pretty much any synth, like a Sub 37 or your modular rig or any poly. They stop becoming just synths and start behaving like modern sound design systems. In this first example, the melody is sequenced from a Digitone 2, but instead of simply running the synth through static effects, I'm sequencing the effects parameters on the heat using the Digitone. So what starts off as a simple arpeggio turns into a lush, evolving atmospheric texture, even though the synth has no effects at all. Let's have a listen to what it sounds like without any effects. You can see it's quite dry, and it's just the mono playing. So let's have a listen to it now with the effects on, and you'll hear exactly what's going on. There's a bit of chorus, bit reduction, a bit of heat, warble, delay, reverb, and a compressor. And it's also sequencing parameters. And if you have a look here in the modulation section, here the LFO is getting sent to the delay time. So let's have a listen to it with the effects on. See here the parameters are getting modulated by the Digitone. An incredible amount of modulation going on here. It completely transforms the Vermona. The second example is a drum and bass bassline, same setup, very different energy. Again, the Digitone 2 is handling the sequencing, but now I'm pushing the heat's parameter sequencing, LFOs and envelopes much harder. Okay, so here I've got the Digitone sequencing the Vermona, 2 oscillators of the Vermona going straight into the heat, and the last oscillator is the sub bass just going straight into the mixer. This is what it sounds like with no effects. Okay, so let's listen to what it sounds like with the effects on. We have the heat, a bit of warble, bass focus, chorus delay, reverb, and a compressor at the end. If you have a look on the mod page, we have the LFO tweaking the filter frequency of the Vermona, and also some other parameters are getting sequenced by the Digitone to give it a little bit more color. Let's have a listen to what that sounds like. So that's what it sounds like with the effects on. It can completely transform your synth, turning the Vermona into a drum and bass monster. The third sound is a very simple chord progression, nothing complex, but once modulation is applied across the heat's filters and effects, those chords start to breathe, pulse and transform. This is where it really hits home. As you can imagine, for synths that don't have any effects, this opens up a massive creative space. I've got the Vermona playing in polyphonic mode now, and you can have a listen to what it sounds like without any effects. Pretty simple. We've got a chorus, warble, a bit of heat, filtering going on here, lots of modulation, delay and reverb. Let's listen to what it sounds like. So there you have it, a total transformation box. Pair it with any hardware synth and magic's going to happen. Now let's take this into the DAW using Ableton Live with Overbridge. The Heat Plus effects drop straight into my session. Full recall, automation, easy routing. It behaves exactly like a plugin, but it's still running through real analog circuitry. In my Ableton mastering chain, the Heat becomes a subtle but powerful finishing tool. So you've got wild modulation and sound design on one end and refined musical mastering on the other. If you've been thinking of the Analog Heat as just a saturation box, hopefully this paints a bigger picture. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we'll catch you at the next one.